Hello, my name is Jason Melius. I'm a historic interpreter here with the North Carolina State Historic Sites. I portray Colonel David Fanning in House in the Horseshoe's digital presentation of The Best Defense We Can. Now, I want to provide a little bit of background information and context into the life of the infamous David Fanning. We don't know a whole lot about his early life. We do know that he was born in about 1755 in Amelia County, Virginia. And he was orphaned by 1764, and as a young man he suffered from a very painful scalp condition which likely left him bald. By 1773 he had moved to Greenville County, South Carolina, and this area by the time of the early Revolution was known as a hotbed of loyalist activities, and Fanning was in the loyalist militia from the very beginning. He was engaged in many of the early campaigns in the backcountry of South Carolina. He was captured 14 times, and he was a bit of a Houdini. He escaped from most of his captures. One of his pardons, however, in 1779, specified that he had to serve in the rebel militia, and he did this until the British fall of Charleston in 1780. In that year, he moved to Deep River, North Carolina, and in May of 1781, he finally became really active following the British Pyrrhic victory at the Battle of Guilford Courthouse. In May of 1781, two of Fanning's men surrendered to the Randolph County militia and were summarily executed. Fanning wasted no time, and he undertook a revenge campaign. He first attacked the Chatham County militia and a supply train. He also then went after the Randolph County militia directly, murdering several men, some of whom he murdered in their sleep. Now, in July of 1781, Fanning went to the British in Wilmington and asked for and received a colonel's commission as the colonel of the Chatham and Randolph County Loyalist militias. He very quickly raised 22 companies of soldiers. His first action was an attack on the Chatham County courthouse, which he captured 53 men. Now, unlike the rebel militia, Fanning released all but 14 of the men he captured. He didn't execute any of them. The 14 he retained were taken to Wilmington, where they were turned over to the British authorities. In late July, Philip Alston and his men murdered two of Fanning's men. And Fanning undertook a campaign to catch Alston and punish him. He cornered him at his house and in the Deep River, and the Battle of House in the Horseshoe ensued, in which 30 men of Fanning's surrounded the house in about a 3-hour-long battle. In the end, Alston and his men surrendered, and again, unlike the rebel treatment of prisoners, Fanning actually paroled all of Alston's men, including Alston. Fanning went on to continue his campaigns through the Carolinas. In September, he undertook a daring raid on Hillsborough, North Carolina, in which he captured 200 rebels, and this included the governor of North Carolina, Thomas Burke. The rebels very quickly went after Fanning and cornered him, attacked him at the Battle of Lindley's Mill, and in this 3-hour battle, Fanning was wounded, but in spite of this, his forces won the day. He transported the 200 prisoners to Wilmington and turned them over to the British. Fanning continued small raiding parties throughout the rest of 1781 and into early 1782, and made quite a name for himself. In 1782, the rebels, who were in complete control of North Carolina, were going on what they called hunting expeditions, in which they were hunting down loyalists and murdering them. To avoid murder, Fanning negotiated a surrender with a Colonel Butler, and shortly thereafter he married Sarah Carr, and the two escaped to British-controlled South Carolina. Now, when the British evacuated South Carolina in late 1782, Fanning escaped to Florida, which was British-controlled. And then when the British turned over Florida to the Spanish, he escaped to the Bahamas. From the Bahamas, he went to New Brunswick, where he served on the legislature for several terms until 1801, when he was exiled to Nova Scotia. Fanning had a small fleet of merchant vessels that he ran and continued in this business for the remainder of his days. He died on March 14th, 1825, leaving behind a daughter and 2 sons. Thank you for joining us today, and if you have any questions, please leave them below in the comments, and we will get to them as quickly as possible. And we look forward to seeing you at House in the Horseshoe as soon as we can. Thank you.